Alright, it is Gmon G, and this is gonna be a shorter video slash. This is not gonna be not gonna have any sort of gameplay at all. This is just gonna be talking about a build that I saw earlier. Now this is a build that, admittedly, I have not tried yet, but I've played against it a number of times to the point where I think it might be like somewhat meta slash. It's a decent build to play against. And right here, as you can see, I have Oni. And I have Oni up on the screen because the first time I actually ever played against this build, it was against an Oni, and Oni made a really good use of this build, and I'll tell y'all why in a second. So just to go over the perks, so Call of Brine makes it so when you hit a gen, I forgot to like introduce the build this way. This is gonna be like a damaging gen build, right? So you kick a gen, you're gonna have the most impact on the game if you're kicking gens, right? So Call of Brine makes it so that when you kick a gen, it's highlighted for you for 60 seconds, and if a survivor doesn't touch it in those 60 seconds, it regresses at double the normal regression speed. And if a survivor does touch the generator, any good skill checks that they do will tell you like that they're working on it because you'll receive a loud noise notification, right? For eruption, what happens with eruption is when you kick a generator, it's highlighted in yellow, and then when you down any generator that you've kicked will lose 10% of its progress. It starts to regress, and it makes it so that the survivor can't work on generators for the next 25 seconds, which is crazy because it's regressing and the survivors really can't do anything about it. So you can kick it and then start the regression at 200% with this. And then if somebody tries to touch it and work on it and somebody ends up going down, this causes it to regress even more. And people won't be able to work on the generator, or the if you had been touching a gen when somebody went down, you won't be able to work on any generator for the next 25 seconds. It makes it really hard to get gens done. And then the last perk in this build, there's three perks. The fourth one I will talk about in a sec because I feel like there's a couple options you can run. But the last perk in this is Overcharge, and it makes it so that if you kick a generator, the next survivor to interact with that generator has a very hard skill check, and if they fail that skill check, they lose an additional 5% of progress. And if they don't touch the generator at all, the regression of the generator goes from 75 to 200% over the next 30 seconds. So if you combine Overcharge with Call of Brine, if a gen doesn't get touched, it goes down back to like zero progression pretty quickly. And if it does get touched, you run the risk of getting erupted by this perk, right? Now, this is obviously like the killer has to be kicking gens and stuff like that. And to be completely honest, this build is actually really good against like solo queue survivors. So when I played against the Oni, this was rough because like I didn't have any comms. Nobody, like, I didn't have teammates to tell me I'm about to go down. Get off a generator, it's gonna explode, and you won't be able to do anything for the next 25 seconds, right? So this build, admittedly, would not be as good when you're against a survivor, survive with your friends, but it's still a decent build. Um, Now, the reason I want to highlight Oni in this is because I think Oni makes a really good, um, like a really good use of this build because of his power, right? So Oni can like insta down people if he hits them with his like big club that's back here. And this is good because it causes eruption to kind of act as like an element of surprise against survivors, because you can have a healthy survivor be repairing your gen and then just have somebody instantly go down, and then now you can't work on gens for the next 25 minutes, right? With normal M1 killers, and like if Oni doesn't have his power, this like applies to him too. um if you see your teammate get hit, you can kind of count in your head, okay, like 5, 10 seconds have passed. There's a chance my teammate can get is about to get hit again. So let me get off the generator, right? Uh, but Oni does a really good job of like using this build because of that surprise of being able to insta down people and having that threat of always insta downing people while his power is still up. So I think that's why like this was a good idea to go Oni with this build. Now, in terms of the fourth perk, there are a couple options, and I've been looking at some of these things. So earlier on, I said that Call of Brine makes it so that when you do good skill checks on generators that have been hit, you receive a loud noise notification. But Gearhead makes it so that if somebody does a great skill check, their aura is revealed to you for 10 seconds. So whether or not they do a great or a good skill check, you can have info on who is where at any time with these two perks. The other one that I think I was looking at, I mean, Dead Man's Switch was one. And I was looking at it mostly just because, like, if a teammate decides to get off a hook, um, or my bad, off a generator to go help somebody get off a hook, then they're not doing generators and you can block it. That's always super helpful. And I think there was one more, and I think it was a Hex perk. Yeah, so the last perk that I was thinking could run really well with this build is Hex Penamento, because it only takes one Hex Totem to be rekindled if a survivor has cleansed it to decrease the survivor's repair speed by 30%, right? So on top of being regressed by a ton and maybe not even being able to do gens because of eruption, you can run Penamento and make it so that the repair speed on top of that is even slower. And this makes for a build where, like, you're stalling out the game as long as possible and hoping you're getting hooks in the meantime. And it kind of does work. I guess if you're looking to kick generators a little bit faster, the other perk I was thinking of is Fire Up, and this perk gets stronger the less generators you have. So this might be viable, but I'm not sure. Either way, this is actually a build that I really do want to try. I just haven't had the time to. I've just been playing with friends on Survivor. But if you do try out these three perks right here, Call of Brine, Eruption, and Overcharge, and any of the perks I've mentioned as the fourth perk, or any other perks, please let me know. Because I'm actually, like, curious about what builds people would run with this, or like things they would use as the fourth perk. Because like as a survivor, although like me, I would probably never use these perks. It's always nice to know what I can play against, right? But yeah, that was the whole gist of this video, highlighting this build that I saw in solo queue earlier. And yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've used this build, and if you guys have any other recommendations for the fourth perk, leave it down in the comments. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.